All right, so we're back. Now when people say fear Allah and try to give dawah, people reply with don't judge me because I sin differently. Yeah. All of these, there were so many different concepts that morphed from that. It's not just, I concentrate on my akida and my minhaj. Don't worry about my personal sins. That's between me and Allah. There were so many other concepts that morphed from that. Right? Because all you got to do is throw one concept out there, and then people, when they grab those concepts, they're going to filter them through their own life experiences. They're going to filter them through their own lens. So that one concept is going to morph into thousands of other concepts, which is why innovation is so dangerous. Because it's not just the one innovation, it's the other innovations that will morph from that. You know? And joining the good and forbid with evil. Understand something about these particular brothers from the Salafi community. Enjoining what's good and forbidding what's evil. Every other concept in our religion would be filtered through their lens. All right. So enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. Of course, they play with double standards. They play with double standards. So when they enjoin what's good and forbid what's evil, that is taking that you went to the movies, or you was listening to music, or you was doing this, and we'll put that on the internet. And we'll make that enjoining what's good and forbidding what's evil. But anything that happens with them, then you got to, Aki, you should have advised the brother in private. You should have, this is the double standard, right? You should have advised the brother in private. You should have said something to the brother in private. But they never say anything to anybody in private. Cowards. They never say anything to anybody in private. Never. Anytime they catch a brother committing sin, or they go and they spread it. They spread it all over the internet. They create flyers and do videos. But when they, or some of their, their counterparts, the people that, their company, gets caught out there, they don't enjoy what's good and forbid. They tuck it underneath the prayer rug. And there's so many situations that, validate that. But nonetheless, man, it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, I mean, please, man, don't get me to what? Man, Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said that if I was to narrate to you everything that I memorized from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the duriba unuki hahuna, you would strike my neck right here. If I was to share with you some of the stuff that I know, you would probably call me a kafir, which some people have already resorted to. So whatever. Okay, so we're pretty much done with the topic. I mean, I don't know if you guys have any questions or comments about what was presented, but I just want brothers to be aware that some may suffer from this. Some may suffer from this concept of the superhero, of the rescuer. And it's important for us to be aware of our sicknesses so that we can treat that. And we can stop making a mess of other people's lives. You said about propping imams up as rescuers. Why don't most imams capitalize on this treatment? I don't understand. I didn't say imams were rescuers. I said propping them up as like the saviors. Like they're the saviors of the community. And why don't most imams capitalize on this treatment? I'm not sure I understand the question. Rephrase the question for me, inshallah. What do you mean, why don't most imams capitalize on this treatment? Mason, I don't understand the question. Rephrase the question in a manner where I can understand what you're saying. How does a wife get a husband to see without seeming like she just doesn't want him with her? Right. That's hard because when the man is intoxicated with his superhero rescuer syndrome, he logic goes out of the window. He's not filtering his actions through logic. It's through man logic. He's telling himself, I have to do this. He does not see himself. He does not see himself. And the only way that you can get him to kind of see himself in the situation is that maybe you have to go to somebody that he respects, somebody that he will listen to. But when a man is intoxicated with his own superhero syndrome, with his own rescuer syndrome, there's nothing you can tell him, because he believes at that moment, I am doing the right thing. You're trying to stop me from getting my, and I mean, we'll use deen to justify that joint, man. We'll say, I'm trying to get hasanat, I'm just trying to fear Allah, and I'm trying to do the right thing. And I mean, once he begins to use deen to justify his actions, I mean, it's pretty much a wrap at that, man. At that point, man, you might have to just be patient with him until that high subsides. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't usually see yourself until it's too late. When a man is intoxicated with his own man logic, man, there is no turning him back. There is no stopping him, man. And usually once the situation crashes right in front of him, crash and burn, then he kind of turns around and looks at the mess that he's made, and then now he wants to go make amends and, kind of rectify. But by that time, it's pretty much too late. I get exactly what you said, especially if the wife may be blessed with more understanding of the situation, but the husband will stand on, I'm the man, so you have to listen to me. Yes, we'll use all types of things to justify that. Yeah, we'll do it. The men will do it even for non-Muslim women. I'm giving her dawah, right? I'm giving her dawah. I mean, brothers will do this even with non-Muslim women. It's like you talking to this woman, you spending time with this woman. Your wife keep telling you it's haram. You can't be meeting her up with like this. She needs to get a wali. She's a non-Muslim. I don't even know why you talking to her. And he will retort with, I'm giving her dawah, so you don't want her to come to Islam. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You should fear Allah. And we'll start justifying that joint on so many levels because we are intoxicated. We are drunk. We are drunk, subhanAllah, drunk off of our superhero rescuer mentality. We're drunk. And then we'll start using deen to justify that joint, man. And, what I'm saying, as men, you just have to be aware of that, man. Absolutely equivalent to bid'ah. They actually believe that they're doing the right thing, right? Which is why some of the scholars say that, a person of innovation is never going to repent. The person of innovation will never repent because they don't see themselves as being wrong. Maysoon, post your question again. It went up. I couldn't really see it. And these brothers will divorce their wives and take on the damsel in distress. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. They'll give it all up. They'll sacrifice it all just to have the damsel in distress, not for the damsel in distress. He doesn't want her for her. Why does he want her? He's not going to divorce his first wife and his kids and leave it all just for this particular woman. It's not about the woman. What is it that he wants from her? He needs her. What does he need her for? He needs her to validate the superhero rescuer syndrome. Without her, he just goes back to being a regular husband. So he can feel needed. Yes. Yes. It's a sick mentality, man. Sick psychology, man. He's sick. It's a sick psychology, man. So he would rather divorce the woman. I'll take it even a step further. He'll let the other wife go based upon the fact that, you're okay and, inshallah, you'll be okay. You have a good job, you have money, and you're always going to be all right. She needs help, and I'm not going to leave her, right? I'm not going to leave her. She needs help. Yes. That need, that feeling of being needed. I was told at 8 months pregnant, if I had a problem with it, I can leave. Yes, he will leave. Absolutely. Pregnant, children, he don't care. He don't care. He is gone. You said that people prop imams up as rescuers, but why do they capitalize on this treatment? Why do they play off of this mentality and act subhuman? Here again, it could be the same mentality that we're talking about. That feeling of being needed. The community needs you. Instead of you humbling yourself and saying, you know, I'm not the person that y'all prop me up to be. I'm not that person, right? I remember being at a lecture. It was a particular scholar. I'm not going to say his name, but it was a particular scholar, and they were introducing him, right? We were all sitting there at this lecture. And don't say Captain Saberho. That's not cool. Let's change the language a little bit. Let's be mature. We're Muslims, and we have non-Muslims that are on here that are also listening and benefiting. Let's not use that language. I put Captain Saber's sister. Saber's sister. So the sheikh is being introduced, and they're like Alama, Fulana, Kether, and they mentioning all of these big titles and terms. And when the sheikh came out, he grabbed the microphone and he said, "You all heard it just like I heard it." He said, "I never told this man to grab the microphone and introduce me with such an elaborate introduction." He said, "I'm a teacher in the university and people know me for the lectures that I give in the masjid." He said, "People know me. He doesn't have to introduce me like that." He said, told to turn to the guy that introduced him, said, "You need to fear Allah. Taqillah ya akhi. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are you introducing me like this as the fulan, and he's a mountain of knowledge and a mountain of, you know, the sunnah and blah, 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 blah." He was like, "Yo, I never gave you permission to introduce me like that." Humility, man. Not wanting that title. Not wanting that title. Dangerous, man, for people to accept that. So, you know, it's for the person being propped up to humble himself. To say, you know what, I am not that person. I'm not that person. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that person. It's for the person to humble themselves. You know? So why do they capitalize off of it? Maybe there's a deep need somewhere within inside of them to feel, you know, ego gets involved, man. In this profession of being an imam and a da'i, student of knowledge, ego is at play here, without a doubt. You're dealing with men that, I mean, and the only thing that has really stopped most of the imams who actually are on the same page from sitting at the same table is ego. I can't think of anything else. If we're all on the same page, we're all promoting the same thing, you understand what I'm saying? What is stopping from us from sitting at the table other than ego? Absolutely. So the whole, you know, the whole need for the man to feel valid is what the man is suffering from. You know what I'm saying? And peace to you too, brother. Peace to you too. Hope you go back if you just now joining, and you can go back and listen to the playback again and, possibly get some benefit from it. I'm sure regardless of what your religion, this is a human concept. This is not something that is religiously related. You know what I mean? This, sister, I'm sorry. My apologies. My apologies. It's hard for me to see. I wear contacts, so I can't really see the profile pic. But, perhaps you can go back and listen to from the very beginning if you're just now joining. If you're not Muslim, welcome, welcome, and, the information is the information, man. It doesn't, minus the religious connection, me connecting it to my religion. Aside from all of that, the concept is the concept. Men of all religious faiths suffer from the same thing. Many men. This is a human issue, absolutely. This, I'm just filtering it through my religion because I am a Muslim. So if you're not Muslim and you're listening, then you're more than welcome to enjoy and the Periscope and it's about the message in the word. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. So if there were no more questions, inshallah ta'ala, we'll stop here. But just, another man logic to give men something to think about and to give women something to think about, because the danger is a woman marrying a man that is like this. So what are the signs, before I conclude, what are some of the signs that a man is suffering from this superhero rescuer syndrome? What are some of the signs that men are suffering from this from the very beginning, so women can be more conscious of this, and so that men, before they bring another woman into their lives, that they address this need for validation? What are some of the telltale signs? What are some of the telltale signs of a man who may possibly suffer from this? Low self-esteem, insecurity. But how would you know if you just upon meeting a man? How would you know? Like, we do a good job, especially in the Muslim community. We do a very good job of masking. Understand? We do a very, very good job of masking. during the sit down. And this is why the sit downs are very dangerous when the wali is not doing his part to ask the right questions. Depression, yes, very good, sister, mashallah, tabarakallah. Depression is a clear example. Depression, Ismail, mashallah, hayakallah. Depression is a clear example that man is suffering from this. Right? Depression. That if a man is because usually when men go through this, they're usually depressed. When men have these experiences, they're usually depressed. So depression is an is a sign. Is a sign that a man is actually going through this, is actually experiencing this. When you talk to him and, he's constantly talking down on himself and talking about him wanting to be a better husband, him talking about, him having made a lot of mistakes. And I'm not talking about it in a sense where a man is owning, his wrongs in past relationships. I'm talking about him talking about it, in a manner where he begins to demean himself and look down on himself. Right? This is because when the woman left him, she took everything. When this damsel in distress leaves your life, she takes everything. She doesn't leave you with anything. She's not leaving you, even if you have the house and you have everything that, you started with before you married her, right? Or before she came into your life. Even if you have all of those material things, spiritually, you are exhausted. You have nothing left in terms of your spirit. You have nothing left in terms of your spirit. When she leaves you, she takes everything with her. Everything that you would need to move on into another relationship in a healthy manner. They always tell the woman what they're not supposed to do, and they always say that's something totally different. That's a narcissist. No, we're talking about the man who is in need. Man who is in need of, being validated. His superhero rescuer syndrome needs to be validated by the woman that is in his life. So she said, one of the sisters said that that he is depressed. And this type of situation does create depression. Sometimes he might look at him. He might ask him what he is looking for in a woman. Ask him what he is looking for in a woman. And if he's looking for a woman who, I could possibly help, someone, when he talks like that, he talks about himself as if he's like this doctor, Mr. Fix-It. I just want to, help a sister out. I've had brothers call the office as the imam and say, I'm looking for a particular sister who's, maybe have children and didn't really have, doesn't really have money because, I'm doing good financially. So, I just want to help a sister out. I'm just like, help a sister out. I said, these sisters in the community are not, charity cases. We're not marrying charity cases. Some of these sisters have degrees. Some of these sisters have their own money. Some of these sisters are well-to-do. They just looking for a partner to share their lives with. These sisters are not needy looking, but that, and I actually ended the conversation with him. I was not going to marry any sister in my community to him. He called on the phone. I'm in my office one day. He called on the phone and was like, I'm looking for a sister for marriage. And I said, okay, well, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? And then he began to talk to me about what exactly he was looking for. And he was looking for a sister who possibly had 1 or 2 kids. This was his exact description. I'm looking for a sister who has 1 or 2 kids, sister who maybe is not financially well-to-do, and, somebody that I can help out. And I'm just looking at the phone you looking to marry a sister like that? Someone who needs to belittle someone to feel empowered, that's something totally different. That's not a superhero syndrome. That's not the rescuer syndrome. He's looking for a woman who doesn't have much. He goes after the women who don't really have a job, a woman who's, been in bad relationships, when he starts to ask you about your past relationship and you start to go down this long, dark road that, my past relationship wasn't that bad. It wasn't, it was horrible. And then he starts to feed into that. Like, he's gaining more power and momentum as you talk. So as you're talking about how bad your previous situation was, it's empowering him even more to go even further with you, because now he sees you as a potential to validate his need to feel like a superhero. So, these are, some of the things that, to ask him about his previous marriage. What about, your previous marriage? You understand what I'm saying? So these are some, or may not even, he's not looking for a woman who's strong in her deen. He sits down with a woman, so how is your practice of Islam? She's like, I memorized this much of Quran, and, she seems like the perfect wife for somebody who wants somebody religious. But then after all you mention of your qualifications, he's like, nah, it's not really. He'll find a reason to dead the situation, because he doesn't want somebody who's an equal to him. He doesn't want somebody who doesn't need help. He wants somebody who he can feel like the superhero, like the rescuer. You understand what I'm saying? He doesn't want somebody who's, well-to-do and is okay with themselves. So this is why it's very important, man, for, sisters to have walis, to have adequate representation, because men know men. Men speak the language of other men. Men know men. Go ahead, sister, ask your question. Men know men. But when a woman is just kind of navigating her situation by herself and no other man involved, your emotions, your feelings get involved, and the situation is compromised. I don't know. I can't see. Brother, okay, sorry. I can't see the profile. Like, how it comes up on my phone is blurry. I can't see. So my apologies. What's your question, brother? Quickly, but before we conclude, question: is this most men? I don't have any statistics to say that this is most men. But as I said from the very beginning, every man has, this predisposition of being a caretaker. Allah says in the Quran, "Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa." Men are the protectors and maintainers of women. That is our natural role. We feel like that. But sometimes, there's an over-exaggeration of that role where we start to feel like I'm not valid unless I go after a woman that needs rescuing, that needs superhero attention. So every man has this propensity, but I wouldn't say every man or most men are suffering from this. Now, if there were no more questions, inshallah, we'll stop here. There was a brother who said he had a question. I don't know. Most men need rescuing. I'm not going to argue that. I don't know that most men need rescuing. I can't make that comment. Yes, go ahead. Ask your question. Alhamdulillah. My pleasure. My pleasure. Ask your question. This will be the last question, inshallah, before we go. When am I going to shave myself? Okay, so that's the question that we were waiting for. Let me just block you, man. You're wasting time. You're a waste of time. We sat here for 2 minutes waiting for you to send a question, and you asked me. Well, you just wasted 2 minutes of my life that I can never get back. Thank you for that. All right, inshallah, we'll stop here. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.